Hello, people. Marino Wavenberg here again, as always, and as usual. Yeah, as always, and as usual, you can tell what time it is. I will be covering another Solomonic Pentacle, which is going to be the Sixth Pentacle of the Sun. Now, I recite from the Greater Key of Solomon, the Order of the Pentacles. The Sixth Pentacle of the Sun. It serveth excellently for the operation of invisibility when correctly made. Editor's note: in the center is the mystical letter Yod in the celestial alphabet. The three letters in the passing of the river writing in the angles of the triangle form the great name Shaddai. The words and the same characters around its three sides are, in my opinion, from Genesis 1, of paragraph or verse 1. In the beginning, the Elohim created, etc., etc. Uh, but the characters are sadly mangled in the MSS. The versicle is from Psalms LXIX 23 and CXXXV 16. Let their eyes be darkened that they see not, and make their loins continually to shake. They have eyes and see not. Yeah. And of course, the thumbnail of this video is the sixth pentacle of the sun itself. Now, for some brief elaboration, so you heard it for yourself. The editor says that in his opinion, it is from Genesis the first. So that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. In the beginning, the Elohim created, etc., etc. So Genesis simply refers to specifically this passage is when it said that God created the world. In the beginning, there was nothing, and God created the world, and so on and so forth. But he says that the characters are mangled in the MSS, MSS being a reference to the original manuscript, of course, from which these pentacles are derived or similar. And yeah, the rest speaks for itself. Now, before I get down into the details regarding the occult details and information and attributes of this pentacle. Now, operation of invisibility. Understand that this is a metaphor, as is the case by default with all, if not most things in the occult. Unless it's specifically stated or common sense tells you that it's to be taken literally, that's obviously not the case, similar to any religious manuscript, which includes the Bible. I've already discussed it in the past in my videos on specifically certain aspects of the Testament, the New Testament specifically, or just overall referring to the Christian Bible or Jewish Bible in any case. Invisibility is a metaphor. Okay, it means clandestinity, being clandestine, being obscure. It doesn't stand for, oh, okay, I'm literally going to become invisible like a superhero, a Marvel superhero or similar. No, obviously not. I mean, you would be bluntly put dumb to think that, honestly. You have to be really otherworldly dumb, crudely and bluntly put. Um, so again, for clarity's sake, even for the hypothetical dummies, it is a metaphor. It means going about your business unseen, not literally unseen, but unseen as in not standing out, and as a result, being able to get whatever you need done, done. That's what this pentacle is there for, to help you. Now, this pentacle is very powerful, like every pentacle, so this one is no different. Um, the sun rules air elementally, so the theme, or better said, the strongest influence in this pentacle by far, pretty much the entirety of the pentacle, at the very least 90%, is governed by air, specifically the zodiac sign Gemini. I'm simply explaining this for good measure's sake. Um, now, what you need to keep in mind, if you were to use this pentacle, for example, is that it's heavily reliant on the operator's state of mind. So you being the operator, you being the utilizer of said pentacle, even more so than is the case by default with anything you do in life. I mean, obviously, drive a car, and if you don't pay attention, or you're more uninhibited and you're just joking around and messing around, then you're more prone to getting into trouble. So a certain amount of seriousness is required from you, and with the occult, it's even more the case. It's one of the most important things. So with this pentacle, it lays emphasis heavily on that, as in, I repeat, heavily on being serious. Success, maximum success with this pentacle towards whatever clandestine purposes you have in mind, or purposes for which obscurity and not standing out or quote unquote sticking out is applicable. Um, it requires the utmost level of seriousness or studiousness, you name it. You don't have to be melancholic, that you're sour or sourpuss or that you're in a bad mood. No. But you need to be serious as in, hey, listen. So you need to treat it almost like some kind of Mission Impossible kind of mission. As in, okay, this is what I want done. This is how I'm going to do it. Boom, serious. Let's get down to it. Don't focus on anything else. Stay purely focused and concentrated on what you are doing. And considering Gemini's influence, this is especially practical. This pentacle is especially practical for operations involving paperwork, administrative things, literature, anything in writing or verbally stated, you name it. So essentially, let's just say for general espionage-based purposes, honestly, whether it's of a professional level or just personal or recreational or anything in between. Um, so again, this is heavily, I can't stress this enough. You need to be really serious. The success that this pentacle can provide you with in terms of the aforementioned objective or objectives is heavily reliant. It's reliant up to maximum levels even, or at the very least, semi-maximum levels, like a seven on a scale of a six or a seven and over that, um, on a scale of 0 to 10. Now, what else was I gonna say? Um, one moment. Another thing that this pentacle is heavily reliant on, again, this is the case by default for any magical operations, is your level of confidence. You need to be confident in your abilities uh, in regards to the overall objective towards which you intend on utilizing this pentacle for. This is the case by default in anything you do. You need to be confident up to I mean, of course, in a realistic manner, not in a deluded manner to the point where you're going to overestimate your capabilities or anything like that. No, but you need to have a good level of fortitude about you, as in, you need to be self-confident in healthy and maximum and up to maximum amounts. Um, and you need to be able to obviously at the same time not like bite off more than you can chew, so to speak. You need to again have a healthy level of self-confidence in the sense that, hey, listen, I can get this done, all the while at the same time also preparing, as is the case by default, for the worst case scenario. As in, worst case scenario is I get caught despite having used the pentacle. For obvious reasons, success is never literally guaranteed. God Almighty is the only one that can give you a literal guarantee, and so on and so forth. You need to be prepared for that mentally, even um, without it, of course, again, undermining your level of your level of self-confidence. So a healthy amount of pessimism is to be taken into account and preparing for the worst case scenario. But again, this is relatively speaking minor. As long as you're confident in yourself and your own abilities and towards what you want to do, then you shouldn't have any issues, you know. You need to have a good head on your shoulders in regards to whatever objective you're chasing. The pentacle will only considerably amplify you driving your point home objective wise up to maximum extents. Oh yeah. Now we're gonna discuss the drawback of this pentacle. There are no drawbacks, but there are hypothetical catches and or pitfalls, albeit very minor. Now, minor point number one is that you're at a slight disadvantage if you are an emotional person. If you're someone that is emotionally unstable, or if your emotions are running high in general, okay? So, especially women, that is essentially a drawback. Not a big drawback per se, but still a minor drawback. Think on a scale of 0 to 10, a 1 or a 2. So, yeah, you're at a drawback. You need to be either in maximum control, relatively speaking, compared to the average person. So you just need to be in a good health. You need to be in good health, in a good, healthy control of your emotions, and you need to you need to be in healthy control of a good, healthy amount of. You need to have a good, healthy amount of control over your emotions, or maximum control even, and or not simply be mentally unstable or restless in any way, shape, and or form. At the very least, when utilizing this pentacle. So you need to just plainly put chill, literally chill emotionally. Chill like you've never chilled before. And minor point number two is that technically, Based on everything I've said, this pentacle can also be used, despite the fact that obviously I do not advocate for it whatsoever, for bluntly put nefarious ends. Simplistically put, think of any form of fraud. Technically, any form of fraud relating to the aforementioned. Think of fraud pertaining to real estate, sorry, um, bookkeeping, so financial fraud, and it just goes on like that. Okay, messing with the numbers, essentially fumbling with the numbers or fumbling with the books, you name it. But again, that is only in theory. Now, obviously, anyone that's watching this, you're doing this, understand you want to do this and you want to use that pinnacle for those ends. Understand that karma will come for you and you will get your comeuppance. So it's heavily unrecommended that you do so. I'm only bringing it up because I also saw that in my research. Technically, it is on the table. Okay, doing so as a means of benefiting considerably or even immensely or semi-immensely in financially or in the financial department. But again, that's not recommended. It's essentially just for the sake of speculation. Let's just say, quote unquote, in another world, okay, in which you, for example, could commit a crime and a crime wouldn't be considered legal. But no, no, no. Just a big fat, humongous Godzilla sized no. Yeah, and that's it. Later.